Welcome back. As always, be sure to leave a comment if you have anything to add to this conversation, because that's why I make these videos, to have conversations. So please, continue the conversation down in the comments, or if you have any other video you want me to make, or any comments about the channel in general, because I'm always looking for improvement, and your comments help out a ton. Finally, be sure to check out my other channel, YC Games. It's one with the orange logo. And without further ado, let's get right into this video. So the biggest complaint most people have with video games nowadays, or at least the industry as a whole, is how absolutely horribly they're being monetized. Games are being monetized. Whether it's just shady business practices, just scumbag things to do, or just unnecessary additions and microtransactions. Now, I'd like to say, let's just go back to a simpler time. You pay X amount for a game, and that's the end of it. But there are some cases where DLC and microtransactions are actually welcome. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of specific examples of games that do it right, games that do it wrong, and how games in the future should be handled in this regard. So, without further ado, let's get into the actual video. So, by single-player game, I mean single-player focused game. Yeah, there can be some kind of multiplayer element or whatever, but if the focus is on some kind of story or some kind of single-player experience, that's what this is about. And this honestly is almost a challenge to get wrong. It is so easy to get this right because we can go back to how games were to some degree of you pay X amount for a game, you get the full experience, you don't feel ripped off, you don't feel cheated on, you just get that game. Now the glory of modern technology means we can add DLC and stuff to it, which isn't a problem if it's warranted. Now there's some games don't have any DLC. Beautiful examples are like Doom 2016, God of War, stuff like that. You know, they didn't need DLC. They were a great game on their own, and with tons of replayability. And they have some free content updates, which are always welcome. And any company that gives free content post-launch should just, big round of applause to them because they're the real MVPs here. Now, I'm not saying paid DLC is bad. There are plenty of cases where I paid for DLC, and I am really glad they include it because if a game has DLC, they have to pay money for it. As long as it's worth the price and it gives enough content to warrant you paying extra money, I'm all for it. Because if I love a game, I'd obviously love to play more of that game. Something like Borderlands 2. I know I talk about Borderlands 2 a lot, but it really does nail its DLC. The updates, the price is worth it. You get tons of extra content for it. Obviously the Borderlands replayability to it. Stuff like that is awesome. I definitely am glad when games include that kind of DLC where I never feel ripped off afterwards. Something like Spider-Man, I'm not a huge fan of the DLC if I'm being honest. Like, I enjoyed it. It was fun for a little bit, but they're really short and they really didn't feel like they needed to be made. It felt definitely like they wanted to have some DLC for it, so they included this. But on the flip side, Spider-Man did include a lot of free suits added to it. Yeah, they didn't do anything different, but they didn't have to include them. I'm glad they did, though, because a lot of them look really cool. And you don't have to do anything extra. You just, hey, here's some free suits. Take them. Hell yeah, I'll take it. That's awesome. Now, obviously, it's really easy to get single-player games right. All you gotta do is make the base game worth the price of the base game, add some DLC here and there if people want it, and if you make it worth the price. Sounds pretty simple. So, how do some games still get it wrong? Biggest example is Shadow of War, because they did it so wrong, it's absolutely ridiculous. I was actually a real big fan of Shadow of Mordor, even though I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. I just really enjoyed the game. The gameplay was fun. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand the characters or anything. I didn't care. I just really enjoyed the gameplay. It was a lot of fun to play. So when I saw they were making a sequel, I was actually really excited. Until I heard there's going to be microtransactions. So I paused and waited to see how things worked out. I'm glad I didn't buy it, because that looks like a train wreck. I'm sure it's still a fun game, but why would you nickel and dime people in a single player game? It's charging $2 here, $3, whatever. I don't even know what the price is. But microtransactions do not belong in a single player game. Now, we'll be talking about the next section of multiplayer games, how, yeah, microtransactions can be a good thing, and they can be justified. But not here. Not like that. That's just stupid. Let's just move on. Now, multiplayer games are a bit trickier, at least to justify that day one price. Because with a single player game, it's typically a story, whatever. You play through the story, you get to the end of the story, you say, alright, that was worth my time. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I did that. Or you don't, and it's all up to you. With a multiplayer game, though, or at least a multiplayer focused game, it's a bit trickier because it really depends on how much you play it, how much you play the same stuff over and over again, because that's what a multiplayer game is. You play the same maps, same modes over and over again. And a lot of times you can chalk it up to, well, is there a lot of content? Is it worth your time? But that's not necessarily true. Like, let's say a game has one map and one mode, but it's a really fun mode and it's a really cool map. You can play that one map and one mode over and over and over again, hundreds of millions of times, and you can be satisfied with it if it's fun enough for you. That's the real tricky part here. With multiplayer games, it all decides on the player if that day one price is worth it. Now again, I'm talking about day one price here. I'll be talking about the DLC stuff later because that's the real bulk of this story. But I want to talk about the actual price of admission first. So on the flip side of that, if a game has a lot of content with a lot of different maps, a lot of different modes, a lot of different guns, whatever it is, but it's just simply not fun for you or no one else is playing it, so you can't even find a match, well, it doesn't matter how much content you have. If the game itself isn't fun or enjoyable or worth it, then it's not worth the price of admission. There's no point to it. So as far as day one price and whatnot, it really is up to the individual and how much time they plan on spending in it. Now, as far as DLC goes and microtransactions, well, that's a lot more we can start criticizing the developers and everyone else involved in making the game for it. So let's start talking about that now. There are some games that actually do this fairly well. And for the most part, at least for me, it comes down to what you're actually paying for. If you're paying for just cosmetic stuff, then I don't care. That is all well and good as far as in a multiplayer sense, especially in competitive multiplayer. If all you're buying is different skins, whatever, then sure, spend $100 on it. I don't care. Like something like Rocket League, I think they do their monetization very well because nothing actually alters gameplay. Now, if you were paying extra money and you got like some other power up to it or whatever, then it's a bit of an issue because it makes the game incredibly unfair and unbalanced. Just whoever has the bigger wallet. Sometimes. Now, there are some special cases that we'll get into that isn't always an issue. But something like Rocket League, it does it really well because it's all cosmetic. And I know that's just an example. There are other games that keep microtransactions and DLC strictly cosmetic, but that's just a big example, at least something I play a lot of. Now, on the flip side, you can get certain advantages, and it can be justified in certain cases. Now, I'm talking like Dead by Daylight. I really enjoy that game, and it's a lot of fun, and I am 100% okay with the added bonuses you get for paying extra money. I know that sounds a bit hypocritical, but hear me out. If you play Dead by Daylight, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure there are some things that just piss you off to no end, and you're disagreeing with me, but I mostly play with my friends. So whenever we're playing together, one of us is the killer, the monster, whatever it is. So whenever there's a new DLC that comes out, typically one of us buys it, and whenever that one person is, it's their turn to be the killer, that's who they'll be, is that new person. And that's just really fun. You know, to experiment with the new people, it changes up the gameplay a lot, it makes it a lot of fun. And even when playing online, if we're against a killer that we're not used to, none of them really feel overpowered or unbalanced, they're just different. So, I realize that, again, it sounds hypocritical to what I just said earlier, as long as it's cosmetic, it's fine. But I'm actually okay with this, because none of them really feel super overpowered. I'm sure there's some arguments, some like, oh, this guy, for the most part, they're not overpowered. It's all in good fun. Same thing with Rainbow Six Siege. If you watch my other channel, YC Games, the one with the orange logo, you know I play a lot of Rainbow Six Siege. And I play a lot of it because I really enjoy it, and I really love the content updates. And I know it's a bit hypocritical because, yeah, you can pay more money for it, and it does sometimes give you an advantage, but the important thing there is that it's balanced. You can get away with not paying money and still getting all the content, and it keeps the game fresh. It keeps it fun. It keeps you keep wanting to come back and play more, because the game changes like pretty much every few months. Every time they add new operators, every time they add a new map, the game changes very dramatically. So it keeps it fresh. Even though we're on year 4 now, I've been playing it since year 1, and I've been enjoying the heck out of it. I'm no good at it, but I really enjoy it. And, well, yeah, I can't complain like, oh, sometimes operators, it feels too expensive. And it does sometimes. like I said, I'll be honest, I did pay for the season pass for year 1 and year 3, but year 2, I got all the operators just by grinding it out, by playing the game, by getting that in-game currency to unlock the operators. And I plan on doing the same thing with year 4. I just plan on grinding it out. So that is the important thing, that yes, you can pay money to do the cheap way, but some people don't have the time. So paying extra money and still getting the same content, I'm okay with that. Especially because it's all balanced for the most part. Yeah, there are some cases where they're not, but for the most part, it's all balanced, and they actively work on the game to keep it balanced, to keep it fair, to keep it fun. And with that, it kind of segues into maybe not as good of an example in GTA 5. Now, I'm not against GTA 5's business model. I'm not against, mostly they're online, against GTA Online. I'm not against how GTA Online is running things, because it makes sense. You know, they've had this game for how many years now? They make a ton of money off it, and there's still an active player base. And I like how they are doing it to a degree. I like how everything can be achievable for free. Everything is possible to get. But, God, we gotta spend so much time to get anything nowadays. So, maybe their prices for new things are a bit unjustified, because I don't personally play GTA 5 anymore, and even when I was playing it actively, I could never get to the level that some players were. Now, when a new update came along, I usually had some stuff saved up. I've never actually spent money on the game other than the price of admission for GTA 5. But as far as online goes, I've never actually paid money for any for any GTA money. I've always earned everything that I got, and I say earned, but it's a video game. You don't really earn anything. But I did grind through some stuff. I did what I had to do to get that money to pay for the stuff I wanted. But there's lots of stuff in the game that I want, but I just don't have the time or really the patience to get the in-game money. I would have to pay actual real-world money. And I don't play the game anymore, so it wouldn't be justified. So, I guess if you have the time, then that's awesome. But the prices are a bit much in GTA 5. And again, that's all my opinion. And with a lot of these things, it is a matter of opinion. Some people could say the Rainbow Six Siege operators are way too overpriced. And so that's fair. Some people say that GTA 5 is perfectly priced. If you actively play the game, then you should have no problem paying for everything. And that's also fine. That's probably true. I just don't play it as much as other people. So that really isn't a bad model. I don't have a huge problem with it. Yeah, the prices are a bit much, but again, that's my opinion. What I really have a problem with was when there's certain content that you have to pay actual money for. Like, there's no way to get it in-game. Now, that bugs me to a degree. There are some things where I agree, like, you know, full-on DLC packs, if it's worth it, you know, some extra maps, like, let's say in Call of Duty, like, add the extra zombie maps, I'm alright with that. You know, I shouldn't expect those for free, because that is full-on new content. I shouldn't expect that from them just hand it out for free. But in something like Black Ops 4, when they're adding loot boxes to an already $60 game, they're adding loot boxes where, yeah, you can earn them in game, but most of the stuff you have to pay real money for, and some extra guns you have to pay real money for. It's ridiculous. And now they're adding, like, I'll be honest, I've been kind of distancing myself from Black Ops 4 because of just the overly obnoxious microtransactions in it. Like, I just don't get it. It's a full-on $60 game. And yeah, there's a DLC, there's a season pass, but that's for these extra passes. There are stuff, I'll be honest, I bought the season pass for Black Ops 4 because I'm a huge fan of zombies. I really like playing zombies. But I paid the extra $50 and I still don't have access to everything in the game. And on day one, there's a whole zombie map blocked behind if you don't have the season pass. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is on the disc. That stuff is available. It is on your console. It is there. It is ready to be played. But it's locked behind a paywall? On day one? No! Season passes and DLC should be for after the fact, for stuff they added after the game. They make their game, it's a full game, you get access to everything available at the time, then they work on the DLC. The fact that they had this stuff on the disc, they had this stuff ready to go on day one, and charge extra for it, that is not okay. That is absolutely ridiculous. And I would be more okay with that if Black Ops 4 felt like a $60 game. It doesn't to me. And I know, again, to me, and like I said, multiplayer games, it's hard to justify that first price launch, the day one price, because it depends on how much you plan on playing within the player base. Yeah, the player base is fine. I can get a match, but it's not fun for me. And again, that's for me. I'm sure lots of people are having fun playing Black Ops 4, and that's fine. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to shame you like, oh, you can't play this game. It's not fun for me. It shouldn't be fun for anyone. No, if you're having fun with it, that's all well and good. But for me, that $60 price is not worth it. And the fact that they're adding more, and it's not even that great, and the fact that they had stuff on the disc you had to pay extra for from day one, that's not okay. And there's still microtransactions, there's still loot boxes, and yeah, a lot of it's cosmetic, but some of it's not, and some of the more stuff coming is not. It is actual guns. Like when Black Ops 3, when they were introducing more guns through randomized loot, or you could pay money for it, that's ridiculous. Why would you pay extra money for an advantage? Like that is a clear advantage. Yeah, some of it was balanced, but some of those guns were clearly overpowered. And that's not okay. Speaking of overpowered things you can pay for, let's talk about Battlefront 2 for a second. I was so excited for Battlefront 2. I'm a huge fan of the original Battlefront 2 back on the PS2. I played the heck out of that. That was the second most game I played on the PS2, apart from Spider-Man 2. Those are the two biggest games I played on the PS2. I love those games to death. So when I heard they were remaking Battlefront 1, I was really excited. I jumped into it. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my time. It was a fun game, just not quite there. But then Battlefront 2 came along, like, alright, they learned their lesson. They're having more content. They're having a single-player campaign. It'll be great. I was really excited for it. And then you can buy your way to the top. You can clearly have these obvious advantages. They weren't even, like, ashamed of it. They were basically saying, oh yeah, this is better. This is the better version of this loot. Oh, you want this loot? Well, you can play for hours and hours and hours, or you can pay for it. What? At least with like something like Rainbow Six, it was balanced. Yeah, they were different, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, you had to grind to get them sometimes, get those extra operators. But they were at least balanced. They weren't ridiculous. There's no way that a year 3 operator is truly superior to a year 1. Yeah, you can have your arguments, and it all depends on play style and how you like to play. But there were no clear huge advantages to having any of these operators. But with Battlefront 2, they up and said, oh yeah, this is better. Well, what are the odds of me getting that? Oh, not very good. But you can pay a ton of money. You can drop $100 on the game right now, and that'll shoot your odds through the roof. Well, yeah, no duh, but I'm not going to pay $100 on top of the $60 I already paid for it. And some people can. Some people are okay with that. I'm not. I am not okay with paying extra money for an advantage in a multiplayer game. Everyone should be on the same playing field. And you have to work your way to the top. Get better loot by yourself. It shouldn't be a randomized system for better stuff. I'm okay with a randomized system for stuff like cosmetics. That's the whole underlying thing of all this multiplayer stuff. You can pay as much money as you want. It can be randomized all to hell. I don't care. As long as it doesn't actually affect gameplay. But if I'm getting dunked on by someone who has just more money than me, that's just not fair. That's not fun. So the moral of the story is the multiplayer games, just any extra stuff should be cosmetic or at least balanced. Like that seems fairly self-explanatory. Don't be obvious when things are clearly overpowered, or at least balance it out. That's again why I like Rainbow Six, because yeah, when operators first come out, a lot of times they are overpowered, and it is a little bit of a problem. But they work on the game, they improve it, they take the comments, they take the insults from the community and say, okay, this is bad, we need to fix it. And they do fix it, sometimes a little bit over, and there's a problem there too, but they at least try. So that's all I really want from companies. Just don't be obvious. Don't make it so obvious that things are overpowered and ridiculously broken. Fix your game. It's that simple. And don't give an advantage to people that pay extra money. Give them cosmetics. Give them the little floofy outfits. I don't care. If they want to pay money for that, that's up to them. And people will pay money for it. I know you could make the argument, well, people aren't going to pay money for it. People clearly make the money for it. And I'm going to be kind of getting into that next section for free-to-play games. You know, talking about Fortnite. People will pay money for cosmetics. That is not an issue. Well, let's move on to that section, in fact. Now, free-to-play games should be treated kind of like multiplayer games, but with a little bit more of a leash. They are allowed to give away a lot more because the price of admission is free. If you're paying $60 for a game, you should not be expected to pay an extra $5 for a little bit here and a little bit there. But in a free-to-play game, yeah, I'm more willing to spend a few bucks here and a few bucks there to get what I want because the price of admission is free. That's just it's acceptable to me. If I'm paying full price for a game, I should be given a full price experience. If I'm paying nothing for a game, then I'm alright with paying a little extra here and a little extra there. Let's take something like Apex Legends. I'm really enjoying the heck out of the game. It's a free game, and I don't know how it's free because it is definitely a lot of work was put into it to make it a good game. And that makes me more willing to spend money on stuff. And for the most part, all the microtransactions are all cosmetic. And I'll be honest, I spent a couple bucks on a skin I liked because I'm more willing to spend extra money on stuff. Even though I don't normally do that, especially in like a multiplayer game, I will not spend extra money on cosmetics. I don't think it's worth it. But in a free-to-play game, it costs me nothing to get this game. Yeah, I'll spend a couple bucks here and there for just to support the developer. Even if I don't even want the skin, just to support the developer because they deserved it. They really do. Because if they're willing to make this level of good content for free, then yeah, I'll give them a couple extra bucks here and there. Because they deserved it. They earned it. And yeah, the problem with Apex is there are a couple legends, they call the characters, locked behind a paywall. And you can grind it out eventually through levels. And I did earn one by leveling up enough because I played the game enough. But I'll be honest, I did pay money for one. And I'm okay with that. I am not upset by that decision. And the characters aren't even that overpowered. Like, they are still balanced within the characters. And it makes me a little upset that I had to pay money for a character. But at the same time, I'm not. Because the game's free. They earned it. They deserve my money. And even something like Fortnite. I used to enjoy the heck out of Fortnite. Not so much anymore. The game just kind of got stale for me, and the community really bugs me. But the game itself is still a solid game. I'm not bashing Fortnite. I'm not saying it's a terrible game, because there is definitely fun to be had. And I think it's fine. You know, you can get away with a lot more stuff, especially because all the stuff you pay for that game, it's all cosmetic. So any money you spend, it's fine by me. It doesn't affect gameplay. It doesn't make you any better. It doesn't give you any edge in the game, like during the game. It's all cosmetic. So I'm 100% okay with people spending hundreds of dollars on it if they want for certain skins. Now, the problem I have with Fortnite is its pass. And I realize that, yes, there is a pass coming to Apex Legends, most likely. I don't know if that's a rumor, if that's confirmed yet. I don't know. And I'm against that, but we'll see how it goes. The problem I have with the pass, with the battle pass in Fortnite, is that, what are they on, like season 20? I don't know, whatever they're on. If that's $10 a pass, and you paid for 6 passes, then you paid for a full $60 game. And I realize it's all cosmetics, it's all broken up, and yeah, $10 for a pass, that seems fair. But then you sit back like, oh, I've paid for 6 of these passes, I paid a full $60 game. This is not content worth a $60 game. But that's up to the individual. If they're willing to spend that much money, fine. It doesn't affect gameplay. So I'm okay with that. But at some point, you do have to take a step back and say, ooh, I just spent $100 on a game that's not worth $100. Because I coach hockey, and there's a couple of the kids that have openly admitted they spend over $100 in Fortnite. And I would be so mad if I was their parents, because holy cow, why would you spend over $100 in Fortnite? And I realize it's like it has a huge amount of money. That game is hugely profitable because of kids like that will spend that much money and stuff. And that does upset me a little bit. But again, it's a free-to-play game. I am not against that. It's a free-to-play game, and it's all cosmetic stuff. It doesn't even affect gameplay. So whatever. If you got kids that are willing to spend that much money, go forth, prosper. I don't care. And again, it's a free-to-play game. It's got to make its money somehow. And the fact that it doesn't even affect gameplay, sure, if it works, it works. It's a free game. It can make its money however it wants. And even something like Warframe, hugely underrated game, by the way. If you haven't played it, go and play it. The microtransaction in there does affect gameplay, but it's not really versus. It's more for individual benefit. So, sure, go forth and prosper. However you make your money, go make your money. Good on them. I'm gonna end this one here, guys. Thank you so much for watching, especially this long. I try not to make videos this long because I don't personally have the attention span to watch videos this long. So if anyone's still watching at this point, thank you so much. You guys really are awesome. If you have any other conversation, please add the conversation down below. If you have any other games that you think did a really good job or a real poor job of monetizing itself, doing its DLC, all that jazz, let me know down in the comments. Borderlands 3 announcement right around the corner, only a couple weeks away now. I'm super excited. I will definitely have more videos about that. I kind of wanted to avoid talking about Borderlands 3 in this video because I talk about that way too much, and I kind of want to distance myself, not from Borderlands 3, but I don't want to be just a Borderlands 3 channel, because once Borderlands 3 launches, then I will have nothing. So I kind of want to experiment, make different kinds of videos. So if you really enjoyed this, let me know. If you want me to just stick to Borderlands 3 stuff, I'm alright with that too, because I really enjoy talking about it. But, you know, let me know, what kind of content do you guys want? And if you guys are watching this far in the video, clearly you at least like some aspect of the channel. So just let me know. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it now here. I'm sorry this video is so long, but keep your stick on the ice. We're all in this together.